What is going on, all you Pokemon collectomaniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and here we are with our series on the biggest movers and shakers on TCG Player. And as I have told you, probably ad nauseum, this is easily one of my favorite series that we do here on the channel. And one of the reasons is because it is coming straight from TCG Player. Like, they are providing us with the information, and anytime I can get information directly from a source like eBay or TCG Player, I think it is wildly impactful, because the things that go on is just at such a high level, like so much velocity and buying and selling on those different websites, that whenever they share information with us, I think it is wildly important and we should definitely focus on it. And the other thing I love about this list is how diverse it is. There are cards on this list from all kinds of different eras. There are cards that are going up in price. There's even some that are going down in price this month. But the reality is, the ones that are coming down, I think they represent really cool buying opportunities. And that was one of the things that TCG Player was calling out. The cards that are coming down have shown a strong propensity to bounce back up and to come back up after these downturns. So they wanted to say, hey, listen, velocity on these cards are down, but guess what? Typically, they have a big spike afterwards, so you all should be paying attention to it. And not for nothing, but the first card that we're going to look at is one of my favorite Pokemon cards of all time, so I am extra jazzed up about this whole video series and especially this video today. So listen, if you get in this video and you enjoy the content and you think it's a ton of fun, we do stuff like this all the time on the channel. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And if it brings a smile to your face, give us a big old thumbs up. I got a small channel here. Those three small things go a long way in helping me out, and I really appreciate it. So without further ado, I know you all are dying to figure out what one of my favorite Pokemon cards of all time is. And here it is, the Kyogre card from Team Aqua, from Double Crisis. I think this card is absolutely stunning. Now, there is a Team Magma. This is the Team Aqua version with the Kyogre on here, and I just think this card is absolute fire. I think the artwork on this was so far ahead of its time. I mean, it's like a full art and an alt art all slammed together into one. You got trainers on here. You got a army of killer whales going forward. Like, this card is just so incredibly amazing in my mind. And as you can see, it certainly didn't start off the year as a cheap card. I mean, it started off in the high 80s, low $90 range, and it really held flat all the way through till January. Once it hit January, once it hit 2024, this card started to see, some serious price appreciation. But up until the last couple weeks, it just absolutely took off like a scalded rabbit. A big spike in price, and you can see there at the very end, it's starting to flatten out a little bit. But this is a card that I have personally had in my eBay saved searches for as long as I can remember. I have yet to pull the trigger. I am so picky when it comes to buying cards on eBay. I'm always looking for perfect centering and very blue backs and all kinds of stuff. I just haven't found the card that trips all the triggers for me, but this is a card I desperately want. And hey, listen, you pay a high price for certainty, right? That's a saying that they use in the stock market, and it certainly applies here to the Pokemon space as well. If you were waiting for that perfect card, you might be in a situation like I am right now, where guess what? Now the price is all the way up to $140 for a near mint raw copy card. And hey, listen, I'm paying for certainty, but I'm not going to buy a card simply to put it in the collection. I want to make sure it checks all the boxes for me. So this is a stunner of a card. I was pumped to see it on the list and really excited, even though I don't have it yet, just excited to see the price growth and how organic it's really been throughout the course of 2024. So stunner card. Would love to hear what you think about it in the comments down below, but certainly one of my favorites. Now we're going to talk about a couple cards that have actually come down in price over the last couple weeks, and these are from 151. Now, we have done a ton of views on 151 cards, so we know traditionally these cards form a ceiling and a floor, and they tend to bounce up and down and up and down. We've seen it across so many different 151 cards that it's not uncommon to see a stunner card like this War Turtle right here, which is on the way down, and you'll see that it's already starting to flatten out a little bit. And this was one of the things that they were calling out is, hey, listen, the card has been coming down, over the last couple weeks after coming up really for most of the month, but we traditionally see a nice bounce off of this. Now, it could also be because obviously reprint, restock news, whatever, 151, people might be, I don't know, thinking that the overall impact is going to be huge on these cards. I'm not necessarily sure that I buy into that quite yet, but the entire evolution line here, from Squirtle to War Turtle to the Blastoise, is absolute fire. So this card is going to be fine in the long run, no matter what happens. So it's an interesting opportunity to see it drop below the $20 mark, and it'll be even more interesting to see if it starts to pick back up here as it has in the past over the next couple weeks. Sticking with 151, if I can get my slide to flip over, sticking to 151, we have the Charizard EX right here, and this is another card that you'll see is coming down really off of a high that it hit. But again, another card that forms those lines, those strong support lines and those strong resistance lines, and you can see that it is coming down. It was at a high of about $42 really just a couple weeks ago, and now it's worked its all the way down to $34. So again, this was where the opportunity is saying, hey, listen, this card has a strong history of rising and dropping, rising and dropping. We seem to be catching it kind of at the bottom tail of this drop period. So if you're in the market for this card, you know, 151 cards have shown to be extremely resilient. They have shown that they can just hold their value, even though a lot of sets don't follow that same pattern. 151 is just a beast all in of itself. And I tell you what, if this reprint or restock ends up being truly just booster bundles and tins, then I think some of the sealed product in 151 is going to absolutely take off. And I think organically, we're going to see a lot of the cards get a lot of excitement and a lot of, you know, probably some price appreciation along with it as well. Maybe not in the short run, but certainly long into the future. So I thought that this Charizard card being called out by TCG Player saying, hey, listen, guys, it's going through a down spell. This has a tendency to bounce. You might want to keep some eyes on it. I thought that was really, really cool. The next card, believe it or not, is another one that is actually called out because it's on a downward trend. Now, the last couple graphs that we looked at were 1 month graphs. This, however, is a 1 year graph, and I wanted to blow it out because I do think that there's a couple different things that we can take away from this 1 year graph. First and foremost, this card obviously went through the spike like all of the other Sword and Shield cards did, right? A couple months ago, things got absolutely batty in the Sword and Shield space when booster boxes were selling out, alt arts were going crazy, and this Pikachu VMAX, which is actually a trainer gallery card, did the same thing. It spiked really hard and then it actually plateaued for about a month, but then it couldn't hold on and it has started to drop. But what the thing was saying, what TCG Player was saying, is this is another card that has an opportunity to give us a solid bounce. Maybe not in the short run, but certainly in the long run. And if you follow this channel at all, if you watch our month over month Sword and Shield videos that we do, you will see that Lost Origin, believe it or not, is starting to kind of pull away a little bit from the Brilliant Stars, from the Astral Radiance, from the Silver Tempest, right? Those final 4 sets. Lost Origin is starting to separate itself a little bit. So you got Lost Origin from a booster box price, then you get Brilliant Stars, then you got Astral Radiance, then you got Silver Tempest, right? Those were kind of the 4 where I was like, which one of these 4 is gonna carry the flag? Which one of these is gonna, you know, end up with the Fusion Strikes, with the Chilling Rains, with the Evolving Skies? And we still have a lot of time that needs to pass. But right now, Lost Origin is looking like a very strong contender at the top of those 4. And this is gonna be a great card. I have no doubt about it. Now, you can still get this at a 1 year discount compared to where it was. It started the year off at about $38, $39. It's down to $34.96. So you've gone through the Pokemon pop and flop that happened when everybody got real feverish and bought in. It's starting to drop back down low. I'm not saying go out and buy this card right now. Do your due diligence, make up your own minds. But it is interesting to see that it's starting to get near that support line that we have seen most of the year prior to that big spike that we saw, you know, between April, May, June, that time frame. So interesting card. I absolutely love this. I think any of the top 5 cards in Lost Origin have the opportunity to do really well. When you look at some of the top cards from the Sun and Moon era, again, different era, different print volume, different collecting environment, all of that stuff. So you can't really draw a 1-for-1 for it. But I will say this, even though all those things are different, I still think Sword and Shield is way more popular than Sun and Moon. I think Sword and Shield has a whole lot more going for it in terms of just the intangibles that happened around the hobby while Sword and Shield was out. So those reasons are why I think this card is an awesome opportunity, and I love to see that it's come down, and I love to see that it's pretty much at the same level that it was at prior to that big pop. So the last card right here, and I feel like we have talked about it ad nauseum, and if it wasn't for it being on this list, I was going to let it die. I wasn't going to talk about it for a while, but it was on the list, and I do have to talk about it. And that's the Greninja. Now, we have done this weekly list for a long time, and we have never seen, and I mean never seen a card on this list 2 weeks in a row. But guess what? This Greninja is trading with such velocity on TCG Player. It has actually been on here 2 weeks in a row. Now, we're going to continue to do this video series. I'm sure in time we will see another card, but this is the first one to do it. I know there's a lot of strong opinions out there. I know the card is an absolute stunner in person. It does look like it's finally starting to kind of level off right at that $300 mark. That might be be the ceiling, at least for now. It seems to be hovering at 295, 292, you know, right there in that range. And so we'll just have to see what happens in the long run. I am not smart enough to definitively tell you what is going to happen, if this is going to be the big chase card, if it's going to be a top 3. It certainly feels like no matter what, it'll end up in the top 5. You know, the story has yet to be written on the Greninja, but what we cannot deny is the excitement around it. What we cannot deny is we have a set as new as Twilight Masquerade that has a $300 chase card in it in the Scarlet and Violet era. Whether that's good or bad for the hobby is yet to be determined, but what really excites me about that is there are enough people who are excited enough in the hobby right now that they're actually paying $300 for this, and it just goes to show you that the hobby's in a really good space. There might be a lot of people who are negative in the hobby right now for whatever reason, this or that, but the reality is we have an ultra modern card here that's going for $300 a pop, which is absolutely insane, and the booster box prices are really strong as well. So hey, listen, this is the final card on the list. Very interesting list. We have 2 that are going up, we have 3 that are coming down that might represent some interesting buying opportunities here in the near future, and I love this list. So much cool stuff, awesome cards, different eras, just all encompassing. So if you enjoyed it as much as I do and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. If you got questions or comments, drop them down below, and as always, if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody. Bye.